Allison Sterling, a business executive with an iron will, paced nervously through the living room of their luxurious suburban home. We have a mole in the firm. We need to find out who it is before we lose every single contract we have. Oh, stop blowing things out of proportion, her husband winced. You are stressing way too much over this. Which of your competitors could possibly be sabotaging you? The only serious rival you have is Leonard Stanton, and he does not use dirty tactics. He is entirely too honest for that. But we are losing clients, and our deals are falling through. Allison rubbed her temples, feeling a punishing migraine coming on. Vance, I cannot keep carrying this burden all by myself. What are we supposed to do? We have to save the business. Listen, honey, you are the big executive here, not me. Vance smiled. Your husband is just a tiny cog in a massive machine. You are my vice president, she reminded him. Come on, help me, I am begging. You. Well, if it were up to me, he began with a conspiratorial tone, exposing this. Mole would actually be pretty simple. Try pretending to go bankrupt. Announce that the company is shutting down, gather everyone in the boardroom, and tell them there will be no payroll or severance packages. Then, just sit back and see who starts complaining the loudest. But that will Allison cleared her throat, completely destroy our reputation. She turned pale. It is practically impossible to pull that off without it leaking to the press, and I would lose my business either way. I do not understand. Do you want to expose the mole or not? Her husband asked. I do not even recognize you lately. Stop whining over every little thing. I absolutely hate it when you act like this. Pull yourself together, or we really will go under. Allison walked into the master bathroom and splashed her face with cold water. She really had been falling apart lately. This whole ordeal had been dragging on for almost a year, but only now had she found the courage to discuss it with anyone. Her medical equipment supply company was her life's work. Allison had earned her pre-med degree and planned to go to medical school to become an internist. But then her parents passed away one after the other. Allison realized she could not carry on the family medical legacy. She risked everything, sold her parents' spacious estate, and started her own business. It began almost by accident. A friend of her late father suggested she flip an MRI machine that a local hospital was desperately looking for. Allison acted as the broker, and soon enough, she built a widespread reputation. She had the most important asset for a startup, which was a network of invaluable connections. Her father, Dr. George Stavros, was a Greek-American who was incredibly sociable and hospitable. George had countless friends, and all of them were eager to help the orphaned young woman. By the time Allison was 35, she owned one of the largest medical supply firms in the state, leaving barely any competitors in her wake. But now, her business was collapsing like a house of cards. And the reason was this cursed mole. Allison had treated her marriage like a business project, too. When Vance first started courting her, she was the one who eventually proposed. The guy came from a good family, was college-educated, and had no kids or ex-wives. But Allison failed to factor in one crucial detail, which was her chosen partner's fantastic inability to work. Vance was incredibly lazy. Even after being handed a high-level executive position in her company, he simply warmed his chair, running down the clock in his corner office. It took her a week to prepare for the conversation with her staff, but the people gathered in the main conference room looked more heartbroken than angry. They were even willing to tighten their belts to save the firm, and not a single person voiced any outrage. Nevertheless, Allison insisted on putting everyone on an indefinite, unpaid furlough. She simply did not have a single client left. Right now, and soon, the corporate accounts would run completely dry. Allison, listen, let us sit down together tonight and figure all this out. Brad Mercer, her vice president of legal affairs, walked up to the weeping business owner. I had no idea things were this bad. It is fine. She wiped a tear from her cheek. I am ready to accept any help. Allison, her secretary rushed up to her. We will not abandon you. Thank you, the executive said, deeply moved. But there is no need for such sacrifices, my friends. If things keep going this way, we will be bankrupt. Regardless, please, start looking for other jobs. She stayed and chatted with her subordinates for a long time, slowly realizing that her husband's idea had actually been a good one. Yet, Vance himself was nowhere to be found. Another employee who missed the meeting was Juliet Lawson, a young woman, temporarily filling in as the chief accountant. At first, this did not bother Allison much. Generally speaking, Juliet was underqualified for the role, but their permanent senior accountant had retired to Florida a year ago, and they had not managed to find a suitable replacement yet. By the evening, Allison managed to drive out to a few meetings with clients, but no one was in a rush to sign any new contracts. Emotionally drained and devastated, she returned to the office. Outside the executive suite, Brad was shifting uncomfortably from foot to foot. They walked inside together, and Allison gasped. The wall safe was swung wide open. There was no cash, and the company's incorporation documents were completely gone. "Brad, were we robbed?" she shrieked, losing her mind from sheer terror. "We need to call the police right now. Hold on, this is all way too weird." Brad frowned. "Can I check something on your computer real quick?" "Yes, of course." Allison typed in her password with trembling hands. "Let us see here." Brad confidently clacked away at the keyboard. "Ah, here it is. Exactly what I thought. We are dealing with a hostile corporate takeover, not a random burglary. Look here. Under the signature and seal of an authorized officer, the company has officially changed ownership. The new owners are your husband and the acting chief accountant. And I need to tell you something else. The corporate accounts are completely drained. Even if you lock them out of the system right now, we are practically bankrupt. And we have massive debts owed to our suppliers." "How is that possible?" Allison turned white. "I do not understand. We have always operated on advance payments." "Write to them," Brad pointed at the screen. "The deleted items folder in your email is packed with messages demanding overdue payments. And yes, it looks like we need to go to the police. This is a straight-up felony." "No, I will not do anything just yet." Allison shook her head. "Now it makes sense. In my desperate hunt for a fictional mole, I completely overlooked treason happening right under my own nose. This whole time, my husband and his mistress were bleeding me dry." "All right, Brad, check how long it has been since. We actually paid for our equipment shipments 8 months ago," he replied after a moment. "Yeah, even if we liquidate everything, we will not climb out of this hole. I will take out a second mortgage on the house, get personal loans, and we will honor our obligations to the suppliers." Allison straightened her posture and spoke in an icy tone. "Brad, please send an official notice to all our vendors. Tell them exactly what is going on. Promise them that we will resolve the issues within a couple of months. I will try to secure the funding in the meantime. We are absolutely not going to defraud anyone, and your hours, naturally, will be compensated." "I can wait, just like everyone else," he replied. "I will get started on drafting the letters right now. Honestly, I have no idea how you managed to miss all of this. I do not understand it myself," she said, her face still pale. "But I will figure it all out." "Yeah, well, do your best," Brad sighed. "I am going to track down someone who can run a full forensic accounting audit. The bad news is that your husband and our sweet little Juliet might plant another bomb somewhere in our files. You know what? I think I will copy all the corporate databases onto my own laptop, if you do not mind." "What about Allison cleared her throat the office lease?" she asked. "Paid up for another month and a half," Brad replied. "But I would advise you to move out as soon as possible and sell off everything you can." "Understood." "All right. If you have any more advice, I am all ears," Allison nodded. "Thank you, Brad." "Hey, do not mention it. We have been working together for years," he reminded her. "I am going to call my wife, tell her I am working late, and start transferring the databases." Allison nodded and walked out of the office. There was no point in locking the door anymore. There was nothing of value left inside anyway, and she felt an overwhelming sensation that she had not just been robbed and betrayed, but that a piece of her soul had died alongside this massive deception. She did not want to go home, either, because everything there reminded her of her husband, and to think she used to love him so much. Allison got into her car and let out a sad, bitter chuckle. She promised herself that tomorrow, she would drive this luxury SUV straight to a dealership and sell it for whatever price they offered. Now, she had to rid herself of every luxury item she owned, perhaps even the custom house she had built with so much love. Allison squeezed, her eyes shut, fighting back the tears. She felt incredibly sick and terrified. Hardly had she parked her car in the garage when someone started pounding on the sliding metal gate with all their might. She flinched but found the strength to walk over. Through the open side gate burst her mother-in-law, Margaret, pale, disheveled, and carrying strange, bulky bundles that looked suspiciously like bedsheets tied into giant sacks. "Where is that scoundrel? Where is my son?" she screamed, throwing herself into her daughter-in-law's arms. "Tell him to get out here right now." "What did he do?" Allison asked. "He robbed his own mother and left me homeless," Margaret shrieked. "Allie, sweetheart, you will not kick me out, will you?" "No," the daughter-in-law replied, "but I am afraid I might be the one left, without a roof over my head very soon." She briefly recounted to her mother-in-law everything that had just unfolded at the office. Margaret, who had spent her entire life working as an elementary school teacher, merely gasped quietly. She had always considered her daughter-in-law a massive stroke of luck for their family. After all, it was Allison who had paid for her father-in-law's funeral a few years back, and, overall, she had taken Margaret under her wing, providing for her completely. And now, her mother-in-law had come running to her with a brand new disaster. Except this time, Allison was in no position to help. "He has completely lost his mind," Margaret stated firmly. "My son has clearly fallen under the spell of that young accountant. I do not know. There is simply no other explanation. He was fully aware of all the company's operations," Allison pointed out, "and a lot of what was done could only be executed by a vice president. Maybe you are right. And I suppose it is time for me to say goodbye to my maternal illusions," Margaret sighed. "It is all just so disgusting. Can you imagine? I was literally thrown out of my own condo. The furniture, my belongings, everything was tossed into the dumpster. The local police officer could not do a single thing. And I, like an old fool, secretly signed the deed of the condo over to my son a year ago, without telling you. I figured it would save him the headache of dealing with probate court later. None of us live forever, after all." "Wait, he sold the condo right out from under you?" Allison gasped. "What about the real estate showings? You forgot. A month ago, I was visiting a childhood friend, and then I went to a wellness retreat in the mountains," Margaret groaned. "He sold the place a month ago. The new owners set a deadline for move-out. Naturally, I had absolutely no idea. They showed up today with a crew of movers and started screaming at me. I was so terrified. I was just sleeping peacefully, bothering no one. And now, I have dragged the only things I managed to save over to your house in 2 bedsheets. My suitcases could not fit any of it." "Well, all right. Make yourself at home," Allison sighed. "I will have to take out a second mortgage on this house, but I will try to avoid selling it for now. So, you can live here. Maybe things will turn around. Everything will turn around." Her mother-in-law hugged her tight. "Goodness, you probably have zero energy for my drama right now. You have enough problems of your own. And now a crazy old woman drops right onto your head. Do not say that." Allison grabbed the knotted bundles and carried them toward the house. "You are always a welcome guest here." "So, does this mean my son has gone on the run?" Margaret asked. "You know, he was always a bit of a drifter, never knew how to hold on to a dollar. I am certain that this stolen money will not bring him any good either." "Maybe so, but right now I need to look for a job and deal with my suppliers." Allison sighed. "Right now, I do not even want to think about the mountain of debt Vance and his mistress have buried me under." Allison helped her mother-in-law settle into the guest room. Margaret had managed to save very little of her life's possessions, and late into the night, she began sobbing so bitterly that it was frightening to hear. Allison barely managed to calm her down, and afterward, she fell into a deep, exhausted sleep. In her own bedroom, she simply had no energy left for her own grief. In a way, it was actually for the best. Otherwise, she risked plunging into a deep, prolonged depression. The following days blurred into one endless string of negotiations. Allison felt it was her duty to personally explain the situation to every single supplier, client. In the process, she uncovered a multitude of extra details regarding this grandiose fraud. It turned out that her husband and the accountant had been using her digital signature for their schemes for a long time, lying through their teeth to the vendors, entirely confident that they would never be caught. In the evenings, Allison wept on her mother-in-law's shoulder, exhausted from having to be so strong. Her husband was not answering calls or emails, and he and his mistress had simply vanished from the city without a trace. Sometimes, she wondered if she would ever see Vance again, or if she would ever get to ask him the questions piling up in her mind, but she was terrified to even imagine such a meeting. One evening, Allison returned home per her new routine. The house was heavily mortgaged, and now Allison only owed money to the bank, though it was an astronomical sum. But at least the angry calls from the suppliers had finally stopped. Tomorrow, she was expecting a moving truck to deliver the furniture and equipment from the office. They had broken the lease, vacating the space early. Since Allison cleared her throat, the firm effectively no longer existed. Lost in her thoughts, Allison did not immediately realize that her mother-in-law was desperately trying to tell her something. "Is everything all right, Margaret?" "No." "Well, look what I found here." The older woman pulled a small slip of paper from the pocket of her robe. "I was sorting through the closet and found this receipt in the pocket of Vance's suit jacket. Do you think this could be important?" "A safe deposit box rental," Allison read in surprise. "That is strange. We never even had checking accounts at that bank, and it is located in the next county over. Maybe you should go check it out." "Huh?" Margaret suggested. "Remember, before Vance had his hernia surgery, he signed she cleared her throat abroad. Financial power of attorney over to you to represent him at the banks. I wonder if it is still valid?" "Oh, you are quite the adventurer," Allison smirked, digging through her phone. "Okay, we have an hour before they close. Do you think we can make it?" "I will pay for the Uber." Margaret jumped up. "I always saved the allowance. Money you transferred to me. So now I can finally repay you, even just a little, for all your kindness. Hold on. Let me just change my clothes." Soon, two incredibly anxious women were walking into the local branch of the bank. It was the only branch that specific bank operated in the area. There was no strict protocol to speak of. The teller barely glanced at the power of attorney, and then a burly security guard escorted Allison and her companion into the vault. The betrayed wife opened the metal box with trembling hands and stared inside. She pulled out a thick physical accounting ledger, then closed the little door. "Not much of a haul," Margaret noted once they were back on the street. "I thought Vance would be hiding stacks of cash or jewelry in there." "Honestly, I think this is even better." Allison shook her head. "We just need to study it carefully first. This looks exactly like they were keeping 2 sets of books. And maybe, with hard evidence like this, we can roll things back, even just a little bit." "I still think cash would have been better," the pragmatic mother-in-law sighed. "But if this helps, I am just glad I could be useful." "You have already taken over running the entire household without being asked." Allison hugged her. "I am the one who needs to thank such a wonderful problem. Mother-in-law, you truly are a treasure. It is just a shame your son turned out to be such a weakling and a coward." Allison stayed up until morning studying the documents. Deciphering Juliet's handwriting was a nightmare. The girl clearly made no effort to write legibly. But soon, the sheer scale of the problem became crystal clear. The fraudulent couple had easily manipulated the naive business owner. They had falsified financial reports, wired money to offshore and shell accounts, and completely forged all the vendor paperwork for the entire past year. But now, Allison had the hard facts of their shady operations. However, she still did not want to file a police report just yet. There were simply too many legal complexities involved in this mess. In the morning, having not slept a wink, Allison grabbed her laptop and the ledger she found in the vault and set off to meet the one person who could help her, though she had absolutely no idea how this meeting would end. "Who are you here to see?" The security detail at the entrance of the historic downtown corporate building was strict. "I am here for Leonard Stanton," Allison replied. "I do not have an appointment." "Tell him Allison Sterling is here." The guard nodded and mumbled something into his radio. A couple of minutes later, the company owner's highly polished secretary came down to the lobby to get her. Leonard Stanton was a major player in this city. Years ago, he and Allison had been fierce competitors, but eventually, they found an equilibrium in the market and rarely crossed paths in their respective territories. Now, Allison was walking into her rival's headquarters in the role of a pathetic beggar. And what brings you here? The older man behind the massive executive desk glared at her. I apologize, but I am very short on time. I can only give you 5 minutes. Yes, I am so sorry for taking up your time. Allison stretched her lips, but the smile came out looking pathetic. You see, I am no longer your competitor. Yeah, I have heard rumors about your little problem, Leonard chuckled. Is it really as depressing as they say? I am afraid people are only seeing the tip of the iceberg. She placed the accounting ledger she had found in the bank vault right in front of him. Here, take a look. Rhonda, hold all my calls and do not let anyone in. Leonard barked the order to his secretary, opened the ledger, and dove into the reading. After a few minutes, he let out a low whistle. Well, I will be damned. I have something else, too. Allison opened her laptop. Here is my entire database of clients and suppliers. I would rather you use this than let my husband and his mistress profit from it. You can copy it, download it to your servers. These people deserve honest contracts. I have already let them down. Terribly. Wow, that is quite a generous gift. Leonard shook his head. And what exactly do you want in return? Nothing. It is just a gesture of goodwill, Allison sighed. My reputation might be destroyed, but innocent people should not have to suffer. If you could manage to hire my former staff, that would be wonderful. Well, I actually have a different proposition for you. The man stood up from his desk. You still have bills to pay and a massive loan to clear, right? So, I am offering you a position as a sales representative in my company. You do still know how to sell medical equipment, or have you lost your edge over the years? No, of course not, Allison smiled. Having not expected a result like this at all, I am ready to work my fingers to the bone. Well then, head down to HR and get your paperwork sorted, Leonard replied. The sales reps operate on the first floor. They will get a cubicle ready for you. Escorted by the secretary, Allison went wandering through the corporate night corridors. It was terrifying, of course, to start completely from scratch. But it was far worse to just sit around and wait, hoping life would magically sort itself out. After all, she had a retired mother-in-law to support. Plus, she was planning to look for a job anyway. And so, starting that very day, Allison began her new life as a sales representative. She had always tried to handle the big negotiations herself, and it was only in the last year that she had loosened the reins, which, as life proved, was a massive mistake. Soon, Allison was deeply immersed in the operations of her former competitor's firm. What was more, she managed to earn the fierce loyalty of the entire sales floor, and it happened entirely by accident. At first, being the new girl, they treated her with heavy skepticism, dumping the most obnoxious clients on her and ignoring her requests for help. But then, that phone call rang. Dead silence fell over the bullpen. Finally, Cassidy, the senior account manager, whispered in a strangled voice, "That is Carmichael. Someone just kill me now. He is angry again. He was emailing all morning, and now he is blowing up the phones." "Who is Carmichael?" Allison asked, genuinely surprised that no one was picking up the receiver. "Dr. Arthur Carmichael, the crazy owner of the largest regional clinic network," grumbled Connor, who sat at the desk across from her. "He orders equipment from us, but he never actually closes the deal. He just strings us along, demanding special attention, massive discounts. Man, in my whole time here, we have never actually sold him a single thing. If he complains to the boss again, we will lose our quarterly bonuses. Honestly, it is better to just not answer at all. Well, maybe I will take the risk, since theoretically we are losing our bonuses. Anyway," Allison replied, opening her legal pad. "Cassidy, transfer the call to me." Her coworkers stared at her like she was a lunatic stepping into a tiger cage. Allison plastered a warm, welcoming smile on her face and accepted the video call. "Good afternoon," she said. "And why on earth would he be so terrible?" On her monitor appeared an older man, with a highly cynical expression. "Well, hello there, you lazy bums. Who is going to try and sell me something today? Do you guys have a new girl, or what?" "Hello there." "Yes, my name is Allison Sterling." She smiled gently. "What kind of equipment volume are you looking for?" "Stethoscopes," the difficult client smirked. 1,000 of them. "If you can, actually manage to sell them to me." "Have mercy, doctor. Why would you need that many?" Allison smiled like a true professional. "Besides, we carry far more advanced diagnostic equipment. Would you like me to walk you through our latest inventory?" "Well, look at that. Let me guess. You can even tell the difference between an MRI and an X-ray machine?" The man burst out laughing. "It is a miracle." "Actually, I have a pre-med degree," Allison told him. "George Stavros's daughter certainly knows her way around an X-ray machine." "Wait, hold on. You are George's daughter?" Carmichael's face instantly shifted, and he peered closely into the camera. "You know what? Come down and see me in person. The rest of those lazy bums have my address. We will chat. And maybe we will hash out a contract with your little outfit while we are at it." Cassidy personally drove Allison to the client's headquarters. Allison stayed at Carmichael's office until the early evening, and finally, the owner of her company called her cell phone. Allison shot a quick glance at her host, then answered. "Yes, Leonard? Did Carmichael talk you to death over there?" Stanton asked her. "How are you? Getting home?" "Dr. Carmichael has very graciously offered to have his driver take me," Allison smiled. "Tell me, Leonard, speaking hypothetically, do we have the capacity to completely replace all the MRI machines across Dr. Carmichael's entire clinic network? Do we have that inventory?" "Yes, absolutely." Her boss started coughing in shock. "But that is a multi-million-dollar contract. His network is massive." "Yes, everything is basically already signed. Perhaps you could give me a timeline for delivery?" Allison replied coolly. "Okay, you know what? I am coming to pick you up myself," Leonard replied. And the line went dead. 2 hours later, Carmichael escorted his guest out to the main gates, waiting in. The car was the owner of the firm himself. She asked him to step out. "I assume you two have never met in person. Dr. Carmichael, this is Leonard." "Stanton," Allison introduced her boss. "Yeah, I figured as much. Peter Stanton's boy," Carmichael smirked. "If I were you, I would fire your entire sales department and replace them with just this one woman." They said their warm goodbyes. Allison got into her boss's car and gave him directions on where to drop her off. Then she handed him a thick manila folder, full of documents. Inside was the master contract, the supplementary agreements, and quite a few other things. Carmichael was notoriously meticulous about the details. "His corporate lawyers have already reviewed everything," Allison explained. "Now, the rest is up to you." "This is insane. Do you have any idea how much money you just brought into this firm?" Leonard stared at her. "You just need to know how to deal with people. Like I said," Allison shrugged. "And I will admit, your current staff could probably afford to learn a thing or two about that." "All right, how about a percentage stake in the company?" Leonard suddenly offered. "But in exchange, you are going to take over training my team of blockheads. From what I am seeing, we have had massive contracts slipping right through our fingers this entire time. I need my idiots to actually know how to sell." "All right, I accept," Allison replied, "even if I have to practically live at the office." "Okay, starting with this specific deal, you are getting a full partner's commission," Leonard said. "And stop calling me Sir or Mr. Stanton. We are working as equals from now on. They will have our new partnership contract drawn up tomorrow. Do you have your own lawyer to look it over?" "Yes, I can find one," Allison smiled. Meanwhile, the husband and his mistress were also trying to figure out what to do with their hijacked company. They did not immediately realize that operating under the old brand name after pulling such a hostile stunt would be incredibly difficult. And by the time they figured it out, it was too late. The business started stalling straight out of the gate. So the couple decided to register a brand new LLC, banking on landing multi-million-dollar contracts. They had their own stolen copy of the client database, after all. And so now, Juliet and her accomplice were methodically cold calling everyone on the list, running into brutal rejections time after time. We should not have cut ties so violently. I think we rushed things way too much, Vance grumbled. By the way, Jules, how are our finances? I thought we're going to rent a beach house for a couple of months. Well, as soon as the business starts turning a profit, then we will go. His mistress flashed an angry glare. You have already blown through most of the cash. I only leased a nice sports car and rented us a decent mansion, he defended himself. We have to live somewhere, right? I think you deserve nothing but the absolute best. Oh, Vance, you literally have zero clue how to handle money, his mistress groaned. No, this is not going to work. We need to solve this problem. We need serious capital to purchase inventory up front. No bank is going to just hand us a commercial loan for nothing. But Allie always managed to pull it off, Vance pointed out. It seems like you really do not know the first thing about running a business. You bastard! The mistress hurled her smartphone right at him. I am busting my ass trying to make this work, and you are absolutely useless. Hey, without me, you would have never gotten anywhere near the companies. Money, he smirked. Give me the access codes to the bank accounts. We had a deal. More than anything in the world right now, Juliet wanted to murder this man. She had already regretted taking such an incompetent fool as a partner 100 times over. In the beginning, Vance had made a devastatingly good impression. He looked like a confident, handsome executive, whispering sweet nothings in her ear about owning the company together. But that was all in the past. Once she was trapped in her own net, she realized her lover played zero actual role in the business and knew practically nothing about how things actually worked. But it was too late to change anything. She stared intently at her partner in crime. He was lounging in an armchair, pouting, swirling a glass of top-shelf bourbon. His cheeks were flushed. The receding hairline on the crown of his head gleamed with grease. Juliet felt a wave of nausea wash over her. At that exact moment, a text message popped up on her phone. Good night, beautiful. When am I going to see you? I will text you. Good night, she typed back, and a smile crept onto her face. It was time to put an end to this farce. She did not need Vance anymore, which meant it was time to get rid of this highly unreliable partner. Juliet made plans to visit her aunt, who managed an independent pharmacy, the very next day. Then she shot Vance a crooked smile. He could not be allowed to suspect a thing. Let him keep blindly believing in her undying love for now. The next day, Juliet frantically explained to her aunt exactly what she needed. Aunt Anne thoughtfully paced in front of the medication shelves, eventually pulling out a specific small bottle with total confidence. Here, this, she cleared her throat, will do the trick, she beamed. It is an over-the-counter liquid sleep aid, but the formula is incredibly potent. Mix a heavy dose into his food or drink 3 times a day, and you will see exactly what happens. Are you sure it will work? Juliet asked doubtfully. I need a guarantee. I guarantee it, her aunt smiled. Give it a week, and his brain will turn to absolute mush. By that very evening, Juliet was testing out the liquid. After just 1 glass of bourbon spiked with the pharmacy drops, Vance started yawning aggressively and complaining of severe dizziness. She continued poisoning her lover day after day. At a certain point, he started to suspect something was wrong. Jules, I feel really sick. I think I need to go to the emergency room, Vance groaned, looking utterly miserable. I swear I feel like I am dying. The room is spinning. I am nauseous all the time. I cannot even remember what happened yesterday. Do you think I have a brain tumor? Oh, knock it off, she waved him away. You just need to stop drinking so much. You have not been sober for days. You have already emptied the entire liquor cabinet. Of course you feel like garbage. Listen, maybe we could call a concierge doctor to the house? Just to get me an IV drip. Flush my system, Vance suggested. I mean, it is not like I am a full-blown alcoholic or anything. Maybe I just overdid it a little. Vance, just go rest and get some sleep, his mistress suggested. You know how. It is. None of us are getting any younger. You used to be able to handle it, but your body just cannot take that kind of partying anymore. Yeah, you are probably right, he replied. Could you make me some herbal tea? Then, I should try to detox. The systematic suppression of his willpower continued. Soon, Vance could barely comprehend anything around him. He struggled to focus on even the simplest tasks. Juliet kept upping the dosage. She was in a hurry to resolve this whole situation. And so, exactly 1 week later, her lover silently signed every legal document she placed in front of him. Then, she dialed a number. "Come over, let us have some fun," the young woman said curtly. "I need to evict a certain tenant right now. I will be right there, baby," a voice answered through the speaker. Shortly after, the sound of tires crunched driveway. An electric scooter pulled up to the porch of the rented mansion. Off stepped a young man wearing a brightly colored food delivery jacket. Juliet threw her arms around the young man's neck. He pulled her tightly against him. Then, an Uber pulled up to the house. Juliet, Vance, and the delivery driver all piled into the back seat together. Their destination was a desolate industrial wasteland on the outskirts of the city. Right there, stripping him of all his cash and identification, they kicked the completely helpless Vance out onto the street. Then they rode back to the mansion. Granted, Wyatt, who worked as a DoorDash driver, was not exactly her ultimate dream man, but Juliet was so used to using men for her own purposes that she simply could not stand being alone for long. Plus, who knew when this guy might come in handy? Vance spent several weeks out on the streets. His memory only came back in fragmented pieces. The last few weeks had been entirely wiped clean from his brain, as if they had never happened at all. He wandered around dumpsters, begged for change, and was severely beaten multiple times by other homeless men, fighting for territory. When his mind finally cleared up a bit, Vance trekked all the way to his mother's condo. There, he was met by the furious new owners, who threatened to break his legs if he ever showed up again. Emaciated, filthy, starving, and, dressed in rags, he stumbled away and eventually reached the gates of the suburban house where Allison lived. He hid in the bushes, watching his ex-wife drive off somewhere, and soon after, his mother walked out the side gate pulling a small grocery cart. "Mom!" Vance tumbled out of the bushes and practically fell into her arms. "I am so sick. Please, you have to help me." "Oh, my son." The soft-hearted woman looked at him with profound pity. "I am living in this house on thin ice myself. Where am I supposed to put you? I will die out on the street." Vance spat blood onto the pavement. "I am already broken in half from the fights. I am missing half my teeth. Mom, I realized everything I did wrong. I swear to you, no more stealing, no more scams. Just please do not leave me out on the street. Look, I do not have my own condo anymore." Margaret began to cry. "My sweet boy, what if we hide you in the tool shed behind the house? It is full of gardening supplies, but it is not that bad. We could totally set you up in there, right?" "Mom, you are a genius." Vance kissed her cheek. "I will take the shed. And, please feed me. My stomach is about to cave in." Margaret quickly sneaked her son onto the property, and they hastily threw together a makeshift bed. His mother fed him a massive plate of his favorite pot roast, then hurried off to the supermarket to buy groceries. She cursed her own soft heart, terrified of whether Allison would kick them both to the curb if she ever found out. The new tenant in the shed tried to stay as quiet as a mouse. His mother bought him clean clothes and snuck him into the house so he could take a shower. Then, she brewed him herbal teas to help him regain at least a fraction of his strength. He flatly refused to go see a doctor. He was now absolutely terrified to leave his little sanctuary for long, spending his days reading old paperbacks or quietly listening to an antique battery-powered radio. One afternoon, Allison happened to hear strange noises coming from the shed. Arming herself with a heavy snow shovel, she crept up to it and yanked the door open. Vance was curled up in a ball, fast asleep on his makeshift cot. The radio was hissing static. The broadcast had ended, and the signal was lost. "What the hell are you doing here?" Allison exploded. "Start explaining." "Mother obviously knows about this, right? What? Did you both decide to play me? For a fool, Allie?" "No, it is not what you think," Vance lisped through missing teeth. "Mom, Just let me in out of pity. Allie, sweetheart, please forgive me. Her mother-in-law wailed, running up. From behind. He is not a stranger. He is my son. He showed up completely, delirious. Someone drugged him. I let him stay, I figured. Well, once he comes to his senses, he will explain everything. You turned my backyard into a Boy Scout camp, Allison grumbled. And what am I supposed to do with you now, Vance? Where's the money? Actually, legally speaking, I am your husband, and I have the right to half of everything, and the right to live in the house too, he mumbled, but quickly. Shut up. All right, do not look at me like that. Jules has the money. That greedy bitch played me like a fiddle. Wow. And you are just an innocent little lamb, Allison sneered. Fine, stay in the shed. You are never setting foot inside the house, and we will figure out what to do with you later. By the way, our divorce has already been finalized, so you are absolutely nothing to me. I do not remember a single thing. I was definitely drugged, Vance lisped. Why? Were you in such a rush to get a divorce anyway? What if I had been kidnapped? Oh, sure. And they forced you to empty the corporate accounts at gunpoint. You should have gone to the hospital for a blood test instead of hiding from me. Allison waved him off. Just sit there, you absolute train wreck. Allie, sweetheart, I will pay for my son's food out of my own pocket, Margaret pleaded. You can see the boy has set himself on the path to redemption. Allison just let out a heavy sigh in response. She did not believe for a second that her ex-husband was actually reforming, but if she kicked him out, the fiercely proud Margaret would follow her son into the streets, and she truly felt sorry for her mother-in-law. The next day brought new surprises. Bright and early, Vance was putting on a massive show of productivity in the yard, even dragging the heavy lawnmower out of the shed. His mother watched him with glowing pride, but Allison found the tension, a whole spectacle so nauseating that she fled to the office, even though it was a Saturday and she had desperately hoped to sleep in. Oh, it is so great that you came in today. Leonard flashed a wide smile at the sight of his business partner. Come on, we need to talk. Where to? Your office? She asked, glancing sideways at their coworkers, whose ears immediately perked up. No, how about we sit down at that restaurant down the street? Leonard suggested. This is an incredibly delicate matter. Soon, they were seated in a cozy, private booth at a lovely family-owned Italian place nearby. And here, her boss truly stunned her. Just as Allison finished her entree, he blurted out, "Marry me." What? Allison stared at him, choking on her ice water. Why on earth? Is this some kind of sick joke? No, I am completely serious, Leonard replied, turning deep red. Look, my inside sources are telling me that in 3 days, the state health department is going to announce a massive federal grant, a huge supply contract for a statewide network of family planning clinics. Landing this will be a massive stepping stone for our firm, but there is a catch. They are heavily prioritizing family-owned businesses. They want their vendors to serve as walking billboards for family values. But as you can see, I am a bachelor. It would be a damn shame to lose a contract like this. Well, just marry someone else, Allison laughed. Cassidy over there would jump at the chance. She practically forgets how to breathe whenever you walk into the breathe room. Ah, that is just out of sheer terror, Leonard chuckled. Allison, I am serious. Look, if you want, it can just be a marriage of convenience. You move into my estate. We live like that for a couple of years. We fulfill the government contract, and then we quietly divorce. An opportunity like this will never come around again. But they cannot process a marriage license that fast, she said, suddenly, flustered. Let us go. Do you have your driver's license on you? Leonard asked. They really were married incredibly fast, without an ounce of ceremony. That very same day, Leonard managed to pull every string he had, and on their way to City Hall, they even swung by a jewelry store for wedding bands. Allison and her business partner walked out of the county clerk's office as husband and wife. Only then did she tell him about Vance's sudden return. You should have called the cops immediately, he shook his head. You women are always way too soft-hearted. He is almost guaranteed to show his true, rotten, colors again. All right. Do not pressure me, Allison sighed. There is no point in stressing about it right now. They can keep living in my old house. And I will move into your place, just like we agreed. Perfect. Leonard wrapped an arm around her shoulders. Well, let us go buy some flowers and celebrate this day properly. Honestly, I am not really in the mood for a party. Allison smiled politely. Maybe we should focus on drafting the bid for the state contract instead? Meanwhile, Juliet was desperately trying to stay afloat in the cutthroat corporate world, completely lacking any help or connections. She had also heard rumors about the upcoming state bid and decided to secure it through her usual methods via a man bypassing all the actual requirements. Especially since it looked like such an easy target. The tender selection committee was chaired by an older gentleman with a notorious reputation as a serial womanizer. Juliet decided to win him over. She stalked the committee chairman for several days, waiting for the perfect moment, and then literally threw herself in front of his luxury sedan as he was pulling out of a downtown parking garage. The seductive beauty in a breezy sundress easily charmed the aging romantic, Peter. Stanton agreed to take the young woman out to dinner at a restaurant as an apology for his clumsiness behind the wheel. The only thing that surprised her was his choice of venue. It was not exactly a high-end Michelin star spot. She arrived at the restaurant armed to the teeth, wearing a dress with a dangerously plunging neckline, bright red lipstick on her, pouty lips, and a thick envelope of bribe money stuffed into her designer purse. The girl was absolutely confident that if he did not bite at her physical charms, he would definitely not refuse cold hard cash. But somehow she cleared her throat. Everything immediately went off script. The man did not show up to the restaurant alone. Sitting at the table with him were several other silver-haired executives. They all stared at the tardy Juliet, like she was a piece of meat on a platter. She grew instantly furious and started whispering into Peter Stanton's ear, demanding some privacy. And to make matters worse, the obnoxious committee chairman had practically bathed in cheap cologne, giving her a splitting headache. She kept inhaling the suffocating scent, fighting down waves of intense nausea. Peter flatly refused to go anywhere else with her. So, the girl found no better option than to simply drop her open purse, filled with banded stacks of $100 bills, right onto the man's lap. The money spilled out onto the floor, and the committee chairman leaped to his feet. Well, I will be damned. Nobody has ever tried to hand me a bribe quite like that before, he barked. Are you completely out of your mind? Did you honestly think I would fall for all of this right off the bat? The pretty little face, the nice figure? Sweetheart, I have had so many women try to seduce me that I lost count decades ago. Stop embarrassing yourself. Cover up. But Juliet cleared her throat. I need this government contract, she stammered, turning red as a lobster. Then prepare a standard bid package, just like everybody else. Instead of turning this into a circus with your little stalking routine, Peter grimaced. You are behaving abhorrently, I swear to God. Do not even dream of winning a single cent now. We already have bids for this contract that perfectly meet every single criterion. And you would be better off spending that cash on an education and some decent clothes instead of trying to bribe federal officials. You look like a streetwalker. I am actually embarrassed I invited you to a respectable establishment. Crimson with shame, Juliet bolted out onto the street, practically blind with rage. She realized she had just encountered something completely inexplicable. For the first time in her life, her feminine charms had absolutely zero effect on this silver-haired man. 3 days later, the results of the state contract were announced. The massive grant was awarded to a brand new firm, Family Care Supply, owned by Leonard and Allison. They drove to the signing ceremony together. And that was when the unpredictable happened. The moment Leonard laid eyes on the chairman of the committee, he turned chalk white and barely managed to stop himself from causing a massive public scene. Only after the handshakes and congratulations was he finally willing to explain to his wife what was going on. They were walking down a long marble hallway when a voice echoed behind them. Running away again. I see. But I am not your enemy, son. I do not need your handouts. Leonard stubbornly stared at the floor. If I had known you were the chairman, I would have pulled our bid entirely. Then you are a fool. Peter waved him off. Everyone in the industry knows we have not spoken in decades, and you won this contract fair and square. I even recused myself from the final voting. Len, come on. Maybe it is time to drop this, huh? How long are we going to keep this feud going? You left Mom for a younger woman. So go to hell, Leonard grumbled. Her heart could not take it after that. Your mother knew about it for years, Peter frowned. She had some medical complications, severe feminine issues, so I never, ever lied to anyone, and I only stepped out with her explicit permission. So you can stop blaming me for her fatal heart attack. I will never forgive you anyway, Len grumbled. But you only get one father. You will never have another one, Allison said, quietly. Maybe it is worth swallowing your pride, just this once? Oh, the lady makes a fantastic point, Peter nodded. You found yourself a highly intelligent wife, son. Leonard spun around and stormed off. Allison decided not to push the conversation further that day, but exactly 1 week later, she organized a massive Sunday dinner. She invited her father-in-law, and then quietly slipped out of the room. When she returned, father and son were loading the dishwasher. Together, the sound of their booming laughter echoed from the kitchen. Allison smiled. It seemed these two stubborn men had finally managed to take a step toward each other. And while some people were experiencing the joy of reconciliation, the woman, who had stolen another woman's husband, company, and money was sinking fast. Juliet's new business venture went up in flames. And to top it all off, the girl discovered she was pregnant. She decided to extract whatever profit she could from the situation. She ambushed Vance outside the property gates when he was rolling a wheelbarrow full of trash to the curb and broke the happy news to him. You are going to be a daddy soon. You can go straight to hell, you poisoning witch, he screamed back at her. You should be down on your knees thanking God I did not go to the police. Vance, sweetie, I brought you your driver's license back, the manipulative mistress cooed. Son, who are you talking to out here? Margaret poked her head out the side gate. Oh, are you Vance's mother? The cunning girl beamed. That is so wonderful. You want to touch my tummy? Your future grandson or granddaughter is right in here. Vance, is this true? The mother, caught completely off guard, was instantly moved to tears. You are having a baby with this young woman? Yes, it is true. Juliet dropped to her knees, pressing the future grandmother's hand to her own chest. And you have such a massive house here. Surely the baby and I would not be in the way? Well, I am not exactly the owner here, Margaret said, looking entirely lost. At that exact moment, an electric scooter pulled up to the curb. A young man, wearing a heavy DoorDash backpack, hopped off. He stared at the gathered crowd in total bewilderment. Did you guys order the groceries? He asked the mother-in-law. Are you accepting the delivery? Jules, what the hell are you doing here? Oh, I went by. The OBGYN clinic, by the way. What did they say? When is the baby supposed to start kicking? Who on earth are you? Margaret stared at him. A delivery boy? I am also this girl's fiancé. The young guy smiled. Wyatt is the name. She is pregnant with my kid. We are saving up for the wedding, so tips are highly encouraged. Oh, is that right? So, it is my baby, huh? Vance narrowed his eyes and took a threatening step toward his former mistress. Wyatt, what the hell is wrong with you? Why did you ruin everything? Juliet screeched. Get on the scooter. Let us get out of here before they call the cops. Wait, so, whose baby are you actually pregnant with? Margaret yelled after. Them. Mine, the delivery guy shouted over his shoulder as he sped away on the scooter with Juliet clinging to his waist. Meanwhile, having barely recovered from the effects of the heavy sedatives, Vance decided he could try to squeeze a little more cash out of his suddenly wealthy ex-wife. In his twisted brain, this course of action fit perfectly into a logical plan. Begging some cash off his mother, he hired the cheapest sleazebag attorney he could find in the city and started filing lawsuits, demanding a 50-50 split of all her marital assets. What the hell do you think you are doing, huh? Allison, blinded by rage, grabbed her ex-husband by the ear and dragged him out of the tool shed. So, forgiving you was not enough? You just cannot stop yourself. Why do you even care? Vance clearly did not get it. We should have finalized the asset division right at the start. And now look at you. You have a massive mansion, millions in your accounts, half ownership of a major corporation. I want my legal half. You will not get a single dime. No such law exists. Allison put up a brave front, but she knew deep down that there were always legal loopholes attorneys could exploit to make her life a living hell. We will see about that, her ex-husband smirked. I guarantee you are in for a lot of nasty surprises. Upon learning that her son was suing her daughter-in-law, Margaret was absolutely horrified. She was so incredibly grateful to Allison, and here her son was, pulling his garbage stunts all over again. On top of everything, amidst all this chaos, her former daughter-in-law announced that the old house was being put on the market. The tool shed was demolished that very same evening, and Vance was physically escorted off the property by the private security team Leonard had hired. Margaret was burning with shame, and she was forced to choose exactly whose side she was going to take. In the end, the mother-in-law made her choice. In the courtroom, she firmly requested to be sworn in as a witness for the defense. And then, once Vance finished whining to the judge about his demands, she asked for permission to speak. I have a certain document here. I request that it be entered into evidence, Margaret announced in her perfectly projected teacher's voice. A prenuptial agreement between Vance and Allison. My son insisted on signing it at the very beginning of their marriage because he wanted to look selfless. And according to this specific contract, if either spouse commits infidelity, they walk away with absolutely nothing in the event of a divorce. Mom, are you out of your mind? Vance gasped, coughing in shock. Why the hell did you bring that here? And anyway, it depends on how you define infidelity. My ex-wife literally went and married another man. She committed legal adultery, and I am just a victim of circumstance. I testify under oath, Margaret continued, that my son committed adultery against my former daughter-in-law, robbed her blind, and went on the run. His mistress was at our house. I saw her with my own eyes, and their affair she cleared her throat began more than 2 years ago. While they were still legally married, Vance erupted in a fit of rage, screaming obscenities in the courtroom. The bailiff handed the paperwork to the judge. A brief recess was called before the prized ruling. Allison slumped onto the wooden bench, completely drained. Leonard was not there with her. He had been forced to fly out for crucial corporate negotiations. The court has reached a verdict. The judge's gavel slammed against the sounding block. The courtroom fell dead silent. I rule the prenuptial agreement valid and fully enforceable. The plaintiff's lawsuit is dismissed with prejudice. Furthermore, the plaintiff is ordered to pay all legal fees for the defense, as well as pay full financial restitution for the corporate assets lost due to his fraudulent actions, totaling 50% of the company's prior valuation. I will literally die before I can pay that off, Vance wailed. Mom, tell them to stop. I am sick and tired of listening to you, Margaret cut him off. You owe the money. You will pay it back, you will find a job, or you will end up in federal prison. I am absolutely done defending and dragging a grown-ass parasite through life. Allie, please, just be human about this. Vance chased after his ex-wife into the hallway. Give me some kind of grace period. The only thing I can give you right now, possibly, is a job, she grimaced. Otherwise, I really will be waiting 100 years for those restitution checks. Well, Vance, are you ready to sweep the pavement outside our corporate headquarters? I was a vice president, he said, deeply offended. And right now you are a homeless felon with a destroyed reputation, Allison reminded him. What, do you have a better offer lined up somewhere? Take it or leave it. I am not asking twice. Fine, he replied, hanging his head. When do I start? Allison practically floated down the marble steps of the courthouse. Her heart was singing. And not just because she had won the case, but because for the first time in her life, the young woman felt like she was standing behind a reinforced concrete wall. Leonard, who had long since transitioned from a fake husband to a very real one, a true pillar of support, was waiting for her at the curb, holding the car door open. Victory! Leonard scooped her up into his arms. I am so happy. By the way, Vance is going to be our new company janitor, she informed him. Like they say, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Do not be mad, okay? I think today is an absolutely perfect day. Oh, really? Do you have any other news you have been keeping a secret from me? Her husband smiled. I am pregnant. Allison threw her arms around his neck. If it is a boy, I am. Naming him George. Oh, that is a beautiful name. He spun his wife around in circles. Do you think a diamond necklace is enough for the woman I love after news like this? Or should I just buy her a brand new Porsche? Save the car for when the baby is born, she smiled. I am perfectly happy. Riding shotgun with you. Allie, you guys look so happy. Congratulations, Margaret's voice called out from behind them. I know the house is sold. I have already packed all my bags. Please forgive me if I ever did anything wrong. Even though everything went wrong. Allie, what exactly is my relationship to Marge supposed to be? Considering she is your ex-mother-in-law? Leonard asked her quietly. I do not know, but I do know one thing for sure. Our baby is absolutely going to need a grandmother like her, she smiled. He already has a grandfather. After all, Margaret, come with us. The new estate is huge. There is plenty of room for everyone. We are having a baby soon, so your years of teaching experience are going to be absolutely essential. I am going to be a completely clueless mother. Allie, you are pregnant? The older woman burst into tears of pure joy. Oh, what a blessing. And you can all just call me Grandma Marge, since we are all going to be living together. It is a deal, Leonard beamed. All right, time to celebrate. Get in the car. A few days later, while leaving the office for an OB/GYN appointment, Allison ran into Juliet in the parking lot. She was screaming something at their new janitor, while he desperately tried to hide from his former mistress in the landscaping bushes. Allison marched right up to them. What is this ridiculous scene all about? Oh, it is nothing. Juliet turned bright red, pressing her hands defensively against her swollen pregnant belly. I am leaving. Wyatt and I got married. The new LLC went bankrupt, and nobody wants to buy it now. We are completely out of money, too. Wyatt said we are moving far away from the city. We are going to live on his parents' farm out in rural Ohio. He promises we can drive into town every weekend. Well, good luck with that, Allison smiled. I can buy the LLC off you. I will. Not offer much, but we can consider our debts officially settled. Juliet scoffed in annoyance. The idea of moving out to the middle of nowhere was completely repulsive, but they truly had zero cash left, and she did want to raise her baby with an actual roof over her head. Exactly 1 month later, Juliet glared bitterly at the television screen as she watched the local evening news. The broadcast was showing footage of a breathtakingly lavish wedding reception being held at a high-end country club. The gorgeous bride, Allison, looked radiant with happiness. A breathtaking diamond necklace sparkled around her neck. Her husband looked at the woman he loved with overwhelming pride, carrying her across the dance floor in his arms. And walking the bride down the aisle was that exact same obnoxious older man who had humiliated Juliet in the restaurant. Juliet flushed deep crimson with shame, but a harsh scream snapped her out of her memories. Jules, daydreaming again. The garden isn't going to weed itself, and the stalls in the barn need mucking out, her mother-in-law shrieked. Move your ass. Stop. Standing around doing nothing. I just sat down for 1 single minute. Juliet whined pitifully. Why are you always yelling at me? Arguing with my mother again? Wyatt poked his head into the living room. His face no longer held any of that awestruck, love-struck admiration. It was entirely hardened. Get out there and work. Stop staring at the TV. If you take care of the kid the same way you listen to my mother, I am taking full custody, and you will be living out on the street. When did you turn so mean? She whined, deeply offended. I guess I learned from the best, Wyatt snapped back. On the television, the anchor was delivering standard, cheerful congratulations to the subjects of the news report. Juliet, wrapping her mother-in-law's ratty, worn-out bathrobe tightly over her massive pregnant belly, trudged hopelessly out toward the barn.